singing a song all day long at Hogwarts. Hey everyone, it's Haley, and today I am doing my Booktubeathon Wrap Up video. So Booktubeathon started on the 14th of July and it ended yesterday, and this was my first time ever doing Booktubeathon, and it was awesome. I had a really fun time. It was awesome to see the community come together and just read as much as they could, and I was actually in a little bit of not so much a slump as I wasn't reading as much as I usually do, so this really helped me to kind of get back on track and closer to my Goodreads goal. So yeah, thank you to everyone who organized it and helped host. I am really glad that I was able to participate this year, and I definitely plan on participating next year. It was awesome, and you guys did a really good job. I can't imagine how stressful it was to host and everything, but you guys did an awesome job, and it was really fun. So I actually ended up finishing all of the challenges. I read 7 books this week and 1 for each of the challenges, which I think is awesome. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it because I worked so much this weekend, and I worked a lot at the beginning of the Booktubeathon. I just had a lot to do, so I was really proud of myself that I was able to complete all the challenges. I think that's awesome. So on the first day, I read Once We Were by Kat Zing, and this took care of the challenge where you're supposed to read a book in the genre you've read the least of this year, and for me, that was sci-fi. And sci-fi isn't the overall genre I've read the least of. That'd probably be something like paranormal or historical fiction, but this is what the biggest the genre that I have the most of on my TBR pile that I've read the least of, if that makes sense. And I had to read this book anyways because it's the second book in the Hybrid Chronicles, so I decided Booktubeathon would be the perfect time to read it. So this book was okay. It was good, fast-paced. I had fun reading it, but I only gave it 3 stars, I want to say, on Goodreads, just because it was kind of more of the same. It droned on and not a lot really happened. It wasn't very memorable. It was just kind of more of the same from the last book, just a lot of planning, and then a few things happened, but I don't know. But I am going to read the last book in this series. I think it's the last book, Once We Were, when it comes out. But I'm hoping more happens in that book to kind of redeem the series, just because this was a little bit boring, just because it was kind of more the same, you know. But it was fast-paced, so it was an easy read for Booktubeathon. So on the second day of Booktubeathon, I read Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. This is the second book in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series, and it was awesome. I read this to complete the first challenge, which was to read a book with pictures, and I was kind of regretting my choice because this is a 400-page book, and it's not that it's not good, but it's not very fast-paced. It takes a little bit to read and everything, so I listened to part of it on audiobook, and I loved it. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars because it was just a great sequel. What I thought was going to happen didn't happen. It kind of just kept you guessing and everything. You found out more about certain characters other than Emma and Jacob. It wasn't really focusing on them. It was more on the other peculiars, which I thought was awesome. It was just a really, really good book. I definitely recommend this series, and I cannot wait for the next one because I want to know what happens, because the ending is a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I really just want the next one now so that I can know. But these are awesome books. And I don't usually like paranormal or horror stories, but this book is definitely an exception to that. I loved it. It was so good, and it was just as good as the first one. I think this is just an awesome series, and it's just so inventive. I think the fact that it's kind of a story built around old pictures that Ransom Riggs finds is just so cool. It's just so interesting to me that he kind of builds this story off of those, and I just think his writing is so good, so I definitely recommend this series. So now on the third day of Booktubeathon, I had to work, so I decided to go for one of my shorter books, and that ended up being Sea of Monsters, which is the second book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. I never know whether to say Riordan or Riordan. I'm sorry. So this book is pretty short. I think it's about like 300 pages or like 270, something around there. And it was an awesome book. It was a great sequel. I love this series. It is so good, and I'm so glad I started reading it. I can't wait to get into the rest of them. And this series is just action-packed and quirky, and it just keeps you kind of like on your toes, like guessing what's going to happen next, like what obstacles they're going to run into, because there's always something. It reads like a middle grade, but at the same time, it doesn't. Like, I think it would kind of appeal to all age groups because it's like that versatile. So this book was no less action-packed than The Lightning Thief, and I'm not going to say much about it just because it's the second in the series, so that would kind of be giving it away, but it did have more to do with certain characters that you didn't really find out much about in the first book, but like were really intriguing. And I read this book for the challenge where you read a book to movie adaptation and then you watch the movie. So I read it and then I watched the movie, and the movie was good. My only problem with the movies that they make for these books is that they completely change the story from what the book is. For The Lightning Thief, I had seen the movie and then I read the book, unfortunately, and while I was reading the book, I was shocked at how different it was than the movie. And this one, I read the book first, and same thing, it's a lot different than the movie. And I thought it was weird that the girl who plays Annabeth, like, Annabeth is described as blonde in these books, but in the first movie, her hair wasn't blonde, but in the second movie, they made her hair blonde. I don't know, I thought that was weird. Like, just be consistent if you're gonna change something. I don't know. The actor who played Chiron in the first one, Pierce Brosnan, didn't sign on for the second one, so it's a different actor, which that's different, like, that's something you can't really control, but like her hair color, I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know, that's just a personal opinion. But overall, this was a great book, and the movie was good too. I just kind of liked them in different ways. So on day 4, I read Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake, and this book was for the challenge to start and finish a series, so I chose this duology. This book was okay. It's a horror story, kind of like paranormal fiction. It wasn't like scary, it was just kind of more gross and gory at times. And the romance just kind of made me uncomfortable. I didn't really like it. It was just meh. I think I gave this book 3 stars, and I think mostly that happened because just the romance. I mean, Anna has been dead for a really long time, and the romance just kind of made me uncomfortable. I mean, Cass has been like killing ghosts and like putting them back where they should have been, like kind of like Supernatural, like the show Supernatural, for like a really long time, and then all of a sudden he meets this ghost and he decides that he loves her. I just think it's weird. I don't know, it just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm kind of picky about romances, and like the little details about them. And by that I mean, like in Hollow City, it's Emma and Jacob, and Emma used to be involved with Jacob's grandfather, and then like she becomes involved with his grandson, and that just, it's weird. I don't like it. That's just the thing that bothers me. I don't know. I'm weird about stuff like that. I hope that made sense. So on the 5th day, I read just a random read that didn't complete any of the challenges except for finish 7 books, and that was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. And I have read the first 3 books of this series. I just read them when I was like 8. I haven't read the rest of them. So now I'm taking part in the Summer of Spells read-along. I don't know who's hosting it, to be honest. I've just seen videos about it. So I'll link down below if I find who's hosting it and everything, so you can just check in the down bar for that stuff. But anyways, I decided to start reading it because I haven't even hauled this yet, but I got the box set. I don't really have much to say about this book other than I loved it, and I'm sure you all know how great this series is. It's just such a fantastical world, and it's just amazing. You're just drawn in, such good stories. I just love these books. It's definitely a favorite of mine, as it is everyone else's. So then on the 6th day, I read The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, and this book took care of the challenge where someone else picked a book for you. And I know that in my TBR video I had Say What You Will by Cammie McGovern picked out for this, but I decided I would save that book for a little bit just because it was a little bit longer and I was working and I knew I wouldn't be able to finish it. So I chose this one because it's only like 270 pages and I loved this book. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I really loved it. I needed a contemporary in my like Booktubeathon reading because I had read like Miss Peregrine's and then like the Anna Dressed in Blood books, which are like gore and like horror and everything, so I really needed a contemporary just kind of for like a pick-me-up and everything. And this one was awesome. The love story did bother me a little bit because like I said, I'm picky about that. Just the fact that she's trying to kind of like choose between the two brothers or whatever, that was meh. That bothered me a little bit because like they're brothers and I think that's weird. But like I said, I'm picky about that. But I still thought it was a cute book, even though I guessed one of the major things from the very beginning. But that's okay. It wasn't like that big of a deal. I find contemporaries can be really predictable, so I'm not really surprised that I guessed that. But I wasn't sure if I was going to read the rest of the series. Before I went into this, I thought I would just read the one, but I think I am going to read the rest of the series, except I got a major spoiler on the last one, because I was like adding it to my Goodreads TBR, and then the freaking synopsis, like the first line of it says like it's been a year since blah blah blah, and it basically says what like happens at the end of the second book, which was really annoying. But I think I will still read it. I really like them. I found the characters enjoyable, except Conrad. I didn't really like him that much, but I think that's kind of the point. But it was definitely a good summer read. I mean, it's beachy and it's lovey and it's all those things you look for in a summer contemporary. So then my final book that I read for Booktubeathon is Girl of Nightmares by Kendare Blake. So this finished the challenge where you're supposed to read a series from start to finish, and I chose the duology like I said, so I had to read this one still. And this also took care of the challenge where you read a book with red on the cover, because it clearly, that's red. So yeah, this book was okay too. I mean, I think 3 stars. It was meh. It just kind of dragged on when it could have ended. I mean, I think the series could have been 1 book, but it's okay. It's whatever. I was hoping to like it more than I did, but I wasn't crazy about it. So yeah, like the first one, I gave this one 3 stars, and I'm not gonna give you like any synopsis or anything just since it's the second one, so I'll give away what happened in the first one. So that is all for my Booktubeathon wrap up and all for Booktubeathon 2014. I'm really sad to say that it's over, but I am really glad that I participated, like I said, and thank you to everyone who made the experience what it was. It was awesome, and I can't wait until next year's Booktubeathon, and if they have a Christmas one again this year, then I think I'll do that one too. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun with that, and I hope you guys enjoyed my videos and everything. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!